calories in versus calories out, is that all that matters when it comes to nutritional performance?
100% no.
The reason why I asked Jess this question is it's been coming up a lot for us from our clients. You know, a lot of them are starting to want to go deeper on nutrition, and they're starting to question, you know, is it just literally calories is all that matters? Is it macronutrients that matter, or is there something more to that? And so Jess and I have come up with a structure today called the 3 levels of nutritional performance. And we hope that we can unpack for you guys to show you that there's definitely more to it than just purely calories in versus calories out and macros. So Jess, let's kick it off today with our foundation. So level 1, and I'll be honest, this is where most people stop in terms of their education around nutrition, because most people think all that matters is, you know, fat loss. So they talk about calories in versus calories out. They talk about macros. And the internet will just say that, hey, this is all that matters. And it really, really is just a basic fundamental level of education around nutrition. But the other 2 levels are actually what are going to make this process far, far easier. But for a start, Jess, can you just give us a fundamental, I guess, foundational understanding of what a calorie is, and then also what macronutrients are?
So a calorie is a unit of energy that the body will burn from its food.
Yep.
Calories are made up of macronutrients, which are your carbs, your fats, and your proteins. The protein is responsible for your muscle mass, improving muscle mass, maintaining muscle mass. It has a lot of functions regarding your hair and skin, as well as some really important bodily functions. And we have carbohydrates, which are like your fire source, your fuel source. So a lot of carbs, really good for your brain, and also your energy and performance. And then fats, probably the highest priority for fats is hormonal health. And those 3 macronutrients build up into your calorie total. And unfortunately, a lot of people only focus on those 2 aspects. And I find that currently social media has a only focus on calories and fat loss. And I find that's why a lot of our clients come to us have been like, is this all I need to worry about? Or what's not working because I'm following calories, I'm following macronutrients?
Yeah, it's a place that causes a lot of frustration because it's an oversimplified and, to be honest, like a dumbed down education on nutrition. And we get it. Like, a lot of people do just want to be less fat. You know, they just want to be healthy. And so if they're just like, hey, I just eat less calories and, you know, I get enough protein in that, I'm going to be all good. And while that will give you a foundation, it will help to manage weight. It may actually make other parts of, you know, performance as a human like a lot worse. And that's probably where we go into level 2, which is actually functioning or human performance, which this comes down to micronutrients. Okay. And so the reason why micronutrients are so important, think of calories as that will determine your weight. So the amount of calories in versus calories out, that will determine your body weight. The macronutrients, they're going to determine your body composition. So if you just have 3,000 calories of pure carbohydrates, it's quite likely that you'll have more of a fluffy body composition versus if you were to have 3,000 calories of just pure protein, you're probably going to look more muscular and you know,
Structured.
Yeah, more structured. But, you know, you need a good balance of all of these because they do function on the body differently and they do come with a lot of different micronutrients. So, Jess, I know we're going to start to talk about the micros a lot more. The first part's probably talking about how it helps to actually regulate our metabolic pathways.
Micronutrients are 100% responsible for a lot of this, and I think something you sort of missed out then was micronutrients determine how you feel, determine how you perform. So you could be eating all these foods that fit into your macros, that fit into your calories or whatever it is, but you could look differently and you could also perform very differently, but you're still within your calories. And I guess for a lot of our clients, where our clients come to us for health and optimization, and a majority of people should be chasing that as well. Now, in terms of micronutrients, there has been a lot of study to say that if we are deficient in certain micronutrients, it has some severe ramifications on how we perform, our internal health, even our body composition and our resting metabolic rate. One example, when we look at things like zinc, for example, an athlete was deficient in zinc and her resting metabolic rate was, let's say, 900 calories, I believe, which is far lower than it should have been when you look at it from a calculation perspective. And then by improving her zinc deficiency, her resting metabolic rate increased by, I believe, with 800 calories. So now she burns 1,800 or 1,700 calories at rest compared to 1,900. So if we didn't address this deficiency from a micronutrient standpoint, her caloric deficit would have to have been 600 calories, and she would have suffered from obviously a lack of fats, which is your hormonal function, a lot of other uptake of micronutrients, which will determine how she feels. But I guess from a holistic perspective and looking at macronutrients, they're the little key building blocks that people neglect that can honestly change the trajectory of your fat loss, your performance, and also your body composition.
Yeah, and like one great thing is like everyone talks about calories in versus calories out being the only thing that really matters, but you know, it's okay to be in a calorie deficit, but you should never be in a micro deficit. And so just something simple. So if you're in a magnesium deficit, so you don't have enough magnesium, that's going to impact up to 300 processes inside of your body. So
Repeat that again.
It's going to impact up to 300 processes inside of your body if you're deficient in something as simple as magnesium. And so magnesium you're going to get from your leafy green vegetables. You can also supplement it, which most people, especially if you're a high performer, will probably need to, just because of the soil quality we have now. But like that is going to improve your metabolic rate. It's going to improve. It's going to impact your metabolism. It's going to improve the way your muscles function. So for performance and training, it's also going to improve brain function, sleep. It's going to impact so many things, like up to 300 processes just from that one little mineral, magnesium. And that right there, if you're in a really low calorie environment, where it's like, say you just go onto the internet and says, hey, 1,200 calories, that's all you need. Cool. You might find that, you know, your calories are not even getting anywhere near enough of these micronutrients. And Jess, I know you're going to cover some more of these micronutrients that were really important.
I guess the main ones we want to look at are the ones that a lot of people are deficient in from a lack of intake more than anything else, and also a lack of like sun exposure. And probably the big ones that have a larger ramification if we have deficiencies in them, because they have greater use in the body. So we've got, I've mentioned zinc, we've mentioned magnesium. Another big one is omega-3s for both males and females, not just from a brain health function, but omega-3s have a number of different functions in terms of your brain health, your recovery, in terms of your speed and muscle mass as well, and improves your cardiovascular function as well. And then we like to look at vitamin D. Now, vitamin D has probably been on the back burner from, let's call it, the media for a while, and it's really cool to see a lot of increased attention around vitamin D. And it's not just if you're not spending time out in the sun, you can actually spend time in the sun and still be deficient in vitamin D because of other minerals not working together to improve that absorption. But you think of like insulin resistance only happens with people for like eating junk. It's actually people who have like low vitamin D has a big impact in insulin sensitivity.
And what does that do in regards to body composition and weight loss?
It makes it a lot harder to improve your body composition and also fat loss. We all, most of us know with PCOS females, they are most likely insulin resistant. So improving the sensitivity to insulin, we actually become, one, healthier. We can perform faster, perform better in a lot of areas, not just like in the gym or on the field. And then also a low vitamin D, so low levels are linked to also weight gain and other metabolic disorders. So vitamin D is a pretty big one. And if I'm completely honest, Australia's recommendation is quite low to what we need. You look in the States and they have supplements up to 5,000 IU, where Australia has capped it at 1,000 IU. So that's another conversation, but really looking at not just having these things, we're making sure the amount we're having is actually of quality and of necessary. And then I think that's the majority of those three. There is your vitamin D, omega-3s, zinc, and magnesium are generally the three ones we like to look at a holistic level. Because they do, I guess, impact a lot of different things.
Absolutely. And so all of those there, like you might look at, say, your calorie intake. And so let's look at things that are high in vitamin D or high in the omegas. You've got things like salmon. You've got things like eggs. Then also to absorb the vitamin D, you need things like calcium. You also need vitamin K. And then you also need all of these other minerals just to help to actually absorb all of this stuff and get it into your system so that you can actually utilize it. And, you know, what people find is that they don't know why they're feeling tired. They might be eating 2,000 calories or, you know, they might be getting heaps of carbs, but they just feel tired all the time. It's quite likely there's somewhere in the system you're deficient in one of these micronutrients. The best way to tell is get blood tests, and that will show up a lot of different things. But it's also like if you are having any of the symptoms where you're experiencing fatigue, you might be having headaches or cramps, or you know, you just feel like you got brain fog all the time. It's probably a clear indication that you're definitely lacking micronutrients.
So a lot of early signs there, and when I think back to when I was competing, majority it was like flexible dieting, and obviously we had a client came to us saying she was 200 calories over her food, and what would that mean? And I guess the biggest thing we're trying to push here is that yes, calories and macros do matter in the grand scheme of things. But as long we also want to make sure we're looking at what makes us feel alive, what makes us healthy. And if we don't have an appropriate balance of quality fats, quality proteins, quality carbohydrates, it's going to affect how micronutrients are absorbed, and overall how we function.
And even just from a body composition perspective, like if you've got micronutrients like nitrates, so say for example you're having something like beetroot, celery, spinach, garlic, all of that sort of stuff, it is actually going to open the blood vessels a lot more. So let's say you're a triathlete or someone who's doing endurance sports, that's going to help get more oxygen and blood throughout the body. If you're a bodybuilder or a strength athlete that, you know, wants to put on more muscle, having those nitrates higher in your diet is going to get you better pumps. It's going to put more nutrients to those muscles as well so that you can perform better. And so everybody's out here looking at calories in versus calories out, their macros, but if they literally just took a bit more time, got a bit more education around their micros and had a meal plan or a nutrition protocol that actually maximize those micronutrients, they'll find that their results are better anyway.
Like another one of our clients who's a high performance client in terms of she's doing high rocks, marathons, runs often. We tweaked her nutrition to only have a majority whole foods. And now she only eats something that is either grown or raised. So nothing processed. And she said the difference in how she feels is exponential in terms of her gut health, her energy, but also her recovery as well. So recovery between so many sessions is quite high now because she hasn't added in things that are taking away from the uptake of minerals, which then affect your macronutrients in terms of how they're being absorbed. And then overall, obviously they fit calories, but they don't make you feel as fantastic as you could.
And then if we get to our final level, which is optimization. So generally, as an education process, what we will work on, depending where someone is at, is we will start with calories and macros just to get some routines on, you know, give people a bit of structure. But then what we'll do is we're constantly trying to slam in as much of those micros as we possibly can. And then the third and final piece is like, how can we optimize every single part of this person's nutrition so that they can get performance out of themselves? And there are certain applications of food, certain timings of food, certain supplementation that will improve performance massively. Like in terms of like, this might be a 5% increase, which in terms of performance-wise, that can be absolutely huge. There's things that improve brain function, as Jess said, the recovery as well. And also just like functioning on a higher level as a human. And not a lot of people realize that once you get to this level, the quality of life and the experience you can have just because of what you're putting in your mouth and the results you get from your training are going to be way different than just purely that foundational level.
I guess it's a good thing to note there is like if you are new to this stuff and only know calories and macros, that is a fantastic place to start. And I guess to improve the level of micronutrition is make sure the foods that you're consuming, a majority of them, are your whole-based foods, things that you don't necessarily have to get out of a packet. And that's going to improve your micronutrient availability and also the amount that you have.
Yep.
And then when you do want to go a bit deeper, then we can look into things like your blood work. Like I'm working on 2 pupils at the moment, and I'm going to be optimizing a lot of things in terms of their micronutrition and also supplementation to help improve a lot of functions to make them perform at that higher level. So don't feel like you have to start here and you need to know every little detail about every single micronutrient and what it does.
Yep.
Start at the base level, and then when you're ready and willing to improve those levels, like you're not feeling as fantastic, you're not sleeping, your digestion's off, then maybe you want to start to dive into those other realms of nutrition.
Yep, but make it really simple. Is like set your calories, set your macros, and then make sure that throughout your day you have 3 things that are green. So these are like your leafy green vegetables, your broccolis, basically any green vegetables.
Anything that's green.
Anything that is green. Okay, and so you're going to get a lot of magnesium, a lot of minerals, a lot of vitamins from that as well. Then 3 things that are not green. So this could be fruits, pumpkins, beetroots, basically anything that's not green.
In terms of vegetable, it's talking about.
Yeah, vegetables
3
and
green,
fruits.
3 not green. As long as they're in your day, that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
We've hit some pretty good foundations with that there.
Yeah, you're gonna get a broad range of minerals and vitamins from that, and it will just start to top up and supercharge your food. So, team, just look at it from that perspective. Like calories will determine your body weight. Macronutrients will determine how your body looks, but the micronutrients are going to determine how you feel and perform. And that is where everybody should be trying to maximize what goes onto their plate, because it's something that's just such a simple shift. If you just see more colors on your plate, generally you're going to have a broader micronutrient profile, and you're just going to start to feel a lot better.
So you can make a bit of a goal for yourself next week is to try and eat the rainbow. Go and try new colourful vegetables, add it onto your plate. But yeah, thanks for joining us for our podcast.